Thank you. It's the toughest job to moderate and hold the last panel of the day. We already have, so much of content flowing throughout the day, and we are talking about content anyways. The last panel was designed specifically to talk about the regional, the growth of regional content, the growth of consumption of regional content. It was not by it was not by chance. It was by choice, so that everybody, basically listens into it, and we complete. We complete a full circle of learnings today. So I'll start right away here. Uh, let's start with the business question first. And Neha, I'll come to you here. From a revenue standpoint, right? How do you see the content demands different when it comes to regional consumers? Are they asking for something which is completely different from what the national consumers seek?
Right. So I think that, am I audible? Yeah, right. So the thing is that it's a very apt question, and I would say that when it comes to regional languages now, and especially in digital media, there is a lot more demand, in that space, especially from advertisers who want to connect with the audiences. So we are not just publishers. We are not just selling an ad space on the website anymore. I think the regional publishers have moved on to the next level, and the ones who have been successful in monetizing it, where we've become the brand solutions experts for them. So we not only bring the platform to the table when having that revenue discussion with various brands, we also bring to the table our expertise of that market, our understanding of the consumer. And coming from a group like ABP, which is like 100-year-old and quite synonymous, I would say, with West Bengal, we come across as experts, and that is the role we like to play, and that has helped us in maximizing our revenues. So I believe in that space we are lucky, and I think regional, specifically has an advantage because we can add value, not just a platform.
Right. Litisha, I'll come to you here, right? You are specifically focused on one language, specifically focused on one state. Now, as they say that language preferences and consumer preferences change in every like 100 kilometer in India. Is it same within one state? There are different segments and different sectors of or kind of consumers that you have to cater to. How do you balance it?
Look, honestly, I feel compared to, irrespective of the fact that it's a regional media house or a national media house, our audiences are our priority. And to give them the content that they like or they enjoy watching is important. And from working so many years in the media and entertainment industry both, what I've realized is good content will work everywhere, irrespective of it being in the digital space, regional space, television space. If it is a good content, it will work. Also, the preferences of audience come in different forms. There are different factors that affect it, right? First of all, I think it's great storytelling, right? Be it news or be it entertainment, what people want is great storytelling. So visual medium takes the cake. So visual storytelling is something that people are really hooked to. Second factor is the smartphone penetration, that people are habituated to, whenever they are, if they have even 2 minutes of time, they're watching something, unless you're driving, but otherwise they're watching something. And the third thing is the cultural engagement. I think that is the only factor that changes from state to state or from language to language, the cultural engagement, because every state audience wants to watch something that they're able to relate to culturally, be it the traditions or be it the identity or be it the language. So I think all in all, the duration of content, the attention span of people is coming down, and the duration of content, people love watching short content. And we know it's very difficult to monetize short content. But that's where the world is moving. In fact, a lot of times when I look at my analytics, I feel like, I believe, I don't know, they think that the audience thinks that they should probably, with every news story, they should get a bucket of popcorn. Because the interest as such for every audience who watches news or entertainment is good content, good storytelling, And you need to have access to the smartphones, which I think with the new innovations with internet and cheaper smartphones, everything's cheap now, so everybody's able to access it. So video is the main focus for many regional audiences.
Interesting. Idris, we touched upon the point about how technology has really helped, content reach the last mile and hence, the regional touch points as well. What's your take? How has, one technology helped this side of the business grow? That's one. And secondly, can technology help in catering to specific audiences and specific, reader demands?
So when technology provided connectivity, the biggest advantage we thought is that everyone will be able to get good quality content. Earlier, the content quality was a lot limited to your location. I used to get in my village only 2 newspapers. If I have to get Times of India, I have to pay price of the newspaper plus 20 rupees extra, and then it will come 2 days later. That way I will read news which happened 3 days ago. That was the case. But that provided local newspaper some business. Now, what technology has done, the promise was very good that everyone will be able to get content everywhere. And the local people should be able to take their content out from that local area to everywhere. That was an ideal situation we were expecting. But what happened is that we all know local media, they lost audience. Because now I sitting in that village, my choice is not limited to the local newspaper. I can read anything. And as a result of that, local people lost audience. Once you lose audience, then you lose your power. You lose your revenue. If you lose your revenue, then you lose your quality of resource, quality of content, and quality of your tech investment. As a result of that, the local people, as we know, are facing tough time. They disappear. And if media is one of the important pillar of democracy, then that is going to affect democracy, that is going to affect your quality of life, because the local remains uninformed about local issue and remain unrepresented. And we at national media, knowingly or unknowingly, have done that. I think we should take up initiative to rebuild that the local content is actually captured and delivered to local as well as any audience outside that locality may be interested in that, because many people have migrated to the city and different countries. They would like to keep in touch and be updated about what is happening locally.
Interesting, because if I consider myself as a TG, right, for you guys, right? So I come from a small town in Assam. I'm a Bengali from Assam. I'm exposed to both languages, Bengali, Assamese, and I am working here in Delhi. So I also am exposed to Hindi as well as English, right? If you had to break the code, crack the code for me to reach me, because I want to be informed about my native.
Absolutely.
Probably in a language that I, relate to best. What would be the use case scenario for you?
So this is a very good point that you raised, and specifically for Bangla, which is the language that we are on, there is a certain sense of pride and there is a certain sense of attachment that, for other languages, say, you prefer English over a Hindi, even if you've kind of reached that situation where you've obtained that educational qualification. For Bangla per se, there is that affinity that stays. So that is a plus for us. Secondly, like you said, it's a very important balance to maintain, right? Making sure that the national news gets the adequate attention while addressing the fact that how a person sitting out of Kolkata in West Bengal feels he's affected or gets to know how will this news affect me, how it impacts me. So if you've cracked that code, you will, grow. And I'd like to add here that the whole thing of technology coming in place, the democratization of the internet has really, really helped us. There was a point in time when, in terms of digital, was considered, only the whole metropolitan phenomena. Now it is not. right? In 3 years, we had to give an example in terms of numbers. We had 80% of audiences coming just out of Kolkata when we cover West Bengal. When we grew in these last 3 years, while the whole Kolkata absolute number also increased, we are now 60-40. So 60% audience is from Kolkata and 40% is from rest of West Bengal. So that says a lot, that you are connecting with that audience. He or she finds that connect in the content that you've created. And, we've always mentioned that we have like a 18-minute, 20-minute average time spent per user. That's the power that a regional platform, when done in the right way, can bring to the table. So,
Yeah. Interesting that you talk about technology, but one thing that technology has also done is that, and we spoke about this in the morning, that it has given publishing powers to people, right? People now are brands. We have UTC. And you as, and this question is to Litisha, you as a news media organization, do you feel the heat coming from the, content creators, regional content creators, because there are many, right? And as Neha just mentioned, that, it has really reached the last mile. The creation is also happening on the last mile. Now, how are you looking at it? And how do you look at catering to, your audiences, probably who are, better catered by UGC people?
So I think it is more to do with the organization's values. So in this changing scenario, where the demands are changing, where the content market is changing, lot of organization like a legacy media organization like ours, it's very difficult to have a digital transformation. It's almost like teaching your grandparents to use WhatsApp, but you don't know if they're on board, right? So it's that complicated. But what I see, because everybody is migrating to tier 1 cities, so tier 2 cities having talent and retaining them is difficult, plus to upskill them is a challenge and also an opportunity. But what I find interesting is to be able to collaborate with the local journalists, with local content creators, to give more hyper-local content and bring, address the issues that probably a national media will not, right? That is exactly what the regional audience would want. They're watching national news, yes, but what is really affecting them is their hyper-local incidents. And to bring that to the light is only done by a regional media house. And that is the advocacy and the social impact that a regional media house can have. So I hope I answered the question.
Basically, my question was more towards, how do you see that trend? And, is there any way of, basically collaborating in that sense and, producing it? Because at the end of the day, it is the consumer that is being served, right?
Correct. So, in fact, what I really like is the fact that citizens journalism is now taken like a peak, because now everybody who has a mobile and a camera and with the help of social media platforms is posting it, and that becomes news. That is information. So, there is no other way other than big organizations like ours to collaborate with local creators to create more hyper-local content that will actually address. So I think collaboration is the next step, and like especially hyper-local reporting. I think that is what regional media should focus on, and I think that is something we have already done for the past so many years.
Interesting. Idris, I would want to come to you here and understand about the monetization part more, right? So for example, the content is created, the consumer is happy, right? How do I monetize that content? Is it, and that's a trend, and correct me if I'm wrong, most of the regional publishers majorly rely on political advertising, right? Is it that brands, national brands, really want to reach that last mile through a medium that is more close to that audience?
That is true. Whereas brands would like to reach the last mile, and that is one of the biggest challenge they are facing. It's not easy to reach there, and this local media can help it there. But more than that, it's not only the national brand or international brand which want to reach local. There are also local business. There was also local monetization earlier. What happened to that?
Right.
And can we still serve that market? Can we find a way that local news collection can be distributed to local audience, as well as it can be utilized for promoting the local business?
But is it the case that the local businesses still prefer the local networks more than a national network which is coming from outside?
That is true. That is because perhaps we are not able to deliver or not able to meet their requirement. So we are going to have an initiative where we are trying to get collaboration, as she suggested, to collect local news and also provide that news to everyone, including people who are living in that location, as well as people who belong to that location but live somewhere else. That is the power technology has. At the same time, what we are trying to do is that we would like to run a local news only to that local advertisement, only for that audience where you want to serve that news, that advertisement to. In that case, you don't have to pay for national media. One of the biggest challenge why you don't want to go to national media is because your audience is limited and you don't want to pay for those which is beyond the definition of that audience. But with the tech, it is possible that the advertisement could be limited to the area where you want it to be. In that case, our price tag can reduce, even though it is national platform, to a level which is still interesting and viable for them.
Correct. As you more speak about technology and the influence of how it has really, created that last mile journey. Are you guys as publishers also wary of the fact that a Facebook or an Instagram or the short video apps, are they more powerful in terms of reach? Because generally UGC is basically getting served there, right? What's your thought on that?
So I'll tell you something. So community engagement, which is through social media, is a blessing and a curse, right? So I don't know. I don't know if many people know this, but there was an article in The Economist talking about the news blackout that happened in Canada for 9 months. Now, I do very strongly believe that whatever content we show, it's a reflection of our society, right? And I think India in general is very focused towards more entertainment and sports than towards media and news. So while earlier it would take a lot of time to reach to different audiences, today with social media you're able to reach, there's ease of dissemination of the news. But with that said, the reco engines come into play, right? When there are reco engines, you will be shown the content that you like, not the content that is probably important to the society as a whole, right? That is one challenge. The second challenge is to really, come with a more cordial conclusion with the tech giants, because the dependence on tech giants is scary. So when this lawsuit happened in Canada, Meta decided to pull out because the numbers are very, very striking. Meta's global feed, news makes only 3% of the entire global feed, right? And when they blacked out from Canada, 9 months, their ad revenues went up by 19%. So, and here we are sitting and we're depending on them and demanding for what we deserve to be put royalty for our content, and yet we are not able to get that kind of revenue from social media, right? So it's a two-edged sword at the moment. They back out, our distribution suffers. We ask them to pay, they back out. And it's just a chicken and egg scenario that we're going on. So I think the best way forward would be to really reduce our dependence on social media, not completely cut it, but not rely entirely on social media, but different ways of, promoting your product so that people are able to come to you directly. Right?
It's one of those things that you can't ignore and you can't live with that.
Correct. So I don't see we having a larger or the more heavier prospect here saying that, oh, we want this, if you don't give, we back out. But we're not in that stage to say that, and that is what is worrisome, especially for regional. For regional news channels, it's very, very dangerous because as is, there is not much money coming in the news. Second thing I would like to just add to what Idris was saying is that advertisers spend a lot on regional media when compared to a national media is because the regional media has a very targeted audience. So the advertisers really go for the top network in that region because they get more value out of going to a regional network, which is number one, than going to a national network for, a money with very less, when they have less presence in the regional space. So, yeah, I think we all need to sort of come with a more balanced, process of dissemination or ideas to disseminate and how we can monetize our digital content. Because I don't think anybody's paying for news, right? Because the generations have, relied on free news. So today, I think it's just convincing people to sell ice cream to an Eskimo, asking them to pay for news. So I don't think that is happening. So exploring different monetization is very important, I think,
So
at the moment.
I would slightly disagree with anyone paying for the news part, definitely, because at the end of the day, if you provide that value to your audience, for us, our consumer is our reader, our audience. If you give that add-on, if you give that additional thing that they're willing to pay for, they do. Right.
That
so
is a niche
yeah.
audience,
So
yes.
and I understand that for certain regional publications, the challenges become even more, because what happens now is with the advent of AI, a lot of Hindi or national platforms are diversifying into multilingual things. Even if they say, for example, there's a news channel, it has 4 languages, for example, just giving a hypothetical situation, they will have 8 languages on the website. Why? Because they're using AI to kind of just translating the copy and putting it as we cover 8 languages. What happens then is, for certain planners, specifically for certain markets which are not, say, a priority market, they go and say, oh, we've taken so-and-so, all languages, we've covered that market. But have you really done that? Right? Have you really done that, or you're just ticking boxes? Exactly. So it all boils down to all of us, that, and the smart advertisers, the brand managers, or the media managers who are smart enough to understand that this will not tick my box, they come across for that. Similarly, for audiences as well, the readers as well, if what they're getting free of cost has not really ticked off their box completely and they want more, they will definitely pay that extra for that use.
A couple of sessions earlier, we had a panel on the rise of paywall, where we were discussing about this subscription versus ad revenue for publishers. One thing that really came out was, how they're specializing the content, and Nalin Mehta, who's the editor of Money Control, he was pressing on the point that, how there are specialized workforce is needed to create that kind of specialized content, right? Now coming to regional media outlets, right? Do you think, and we touched upon that point sometime earlier, that there is a huge paucity of talent in this scenario, right? And if to add to that, if you want you guys to build the subscription revenue part, which means specialized content, do you think the workforce is adequate enough, and as the industry, what needs to be done? Maybe Idris, I can come to you. And
the people who want to read local news, number one, their paying capacity may be little lower. As we know, their income is lower than the national average. Not only that, the second and the biggest problem is the economy of scale. How many of that audience is there? And even if all of them who can subscribes it, will it make the total tally which is required to run your business with profit? So because economy of scale is not there, it's very challenging to build your business basis only subscription. You must have advertisement.
Sure. No, but my question was more towards the talent pool. Litisha, since you are already operating in this market, Do you see a crunch in that sense?
Definitely. I think, like I said, the best talent has already flown out to the tier 1 cities. And so I think what really would help regional news channels is AI. Like, for example, the session before this was of AI, and it really intrigued me. We have launched as a regional channel because there was a crunch of manpower, of resources, of talent. We have actually used many tools. For example, we launched India's first meta-human AI anchor. And you would think that why would local people watch such a technological innovation, but it has really hit off, our AI anchor Lisa. And other than that, there is a lot of tools that we use to generate certain, but like they said, you can use AI to a certain extent, and then human intervention is required. So I think for regional media with resources, talent, it's a big, big challenge. But there is opportunity to, actually go out and identify local talent who are very passionate, who have learned how to do citizen journalism on their own, it's a passion for them. So spotting more local talent and training our existing resources, making them do certifications, digital tools, exposing them to more digital tools and more, it's a challenge for sure, but again, it's an opportunity to basically the fastest, whoever does it will survive. So, yeah, so it is a challenge, but again, we'll have to convert the challenge into an opportunity. Because like I said, the advocacy and the social impact of it won't go away. So regional news will definitely thrive with the local content.
Correct. Neha, your take?
So I'll just add something to this, and it's a very interesting observation that I've seen, that we feel that, especially in metropolitan cities, the youth understand, especially for news, I'm talking about on the news perspective, understand politics. Their average understanding of an average youth on the street in the cities is better than the, tier 2, 3 towns or even villages for that matter. You'll be surprised that, and I think even somehow the general elections this year have kind of endorsed that they have the knowledge. They have the knowledge of the language. They have the knowledge of the issues because they're the ones facing it firsthand. They're on the ground. They just need a little bit of training, a little bit of sharpening of skills, and a platform to voice it out. So they're understanding broadly, the raw ingredients are there. It's just about, giving them the direction that really helps in the regional space, I feel specifically. Of course, in terms of sheer numbers, Hindi or, would have much more. English works on a very different tangent. But like I said, because the language, because of the local connect, and the whole thing of collaborating, not competing with the smaller players and the local players, all these things put together kind of solve that issue, at least for us.
Idris, from a national media player like yourself, right? What is there that a regional media player can actually extract and build their business around? What's there to what's that mantra? Or what's that one thing that a regional media player here could learn from a national media player that's unique?
Your question is that what they can learn from us. I think we have very little to teach because that game is very different. Maybe we can work together and that would benefit both parties. That's what I would say, because we ourselves, even national media player, not only, I'm not talking about my company, I'm talking about industry in general. We are struggling. Nobody is making money. When there was a newspaper, print was making good money. When TV came, newspaper stopped making money, but TV made money. When digital came, everybody stopped making money, and we also don't make money. So this new entrance is disrupt, but doesn't benefit from the disruption.
Interesting. Litisha, if I can flip the question around.
Okay.
Yeah? And so what would be the answer?
Sorry, can you
Yeah, so what can national media houses learn from regional media houses?
I think it's not an apple to oranges comparison, quite honestly. Because the rates in national media versus the regional media, hell and heaven difference. But both don't make money in media, right? It's very challenging to make money in media, but if I had to point out what one thing a national media channel could probably learn from regional media houses is basically to be less polarized in today's day and age. I think national media has in general picked up and become very, very polarized. So the trust and credibility is dwindled in people a little bit. Whereas locally, that's not the scene, regionally. Because they're not looking at they're not affected by the major political scenarios or business scenarios. They're very local and bringing, light to issues that probably a national media won't. So less polarization and probably more balanced local content as well. Every time there's not going to be a crisis in the government or in the opposition or somewhere. Like every time there's not going to be something that you can report on, but they could really make a difference at the last mile by reporting on incidents that happen in rural areas, in regional sectors. It would really make a huge difference for the country and for, tier 2 cities by reporting on incidents.
Interesting. Neha, your take. You are a large media house focused on focused on one region, right? So what do you learn and unlearn from,
All right, so a few things that I've learned specifically is that, like Dr. Idris just said that, we have come as a disruptor, as in terms of digital, but we're not making money. We disrupted, but we're not making money. But we have to question ourselves here. We are to be blamed somehow because in the need of, trying to fill up the inventory because digital gives you that thing of expanding much more, getting more page views, getting more inventory at hand. We have, while the whole digital advertising space has increased, because of the programmatic bit that we have, we're not making money because we're letting others dictate. So as an organization, especially for our regional platform, we took a direct revenue first approach. Right? You'll hardly find, digital businesses today who can proudly get up and say, 75% plus of my revenue comes from direct business. We can proudly say that. Because we took that conscious decision that if you have to play the game longer, if you want to make money, you can't give out everything to a third party and let them dictate terms. If you look at the festive, so for us, for example, Durga Puja becomes the most important festive time. We increase our base rate on programmatic 2 months prior to Puja. If you buy my inventory programmatically, it will cost you more than buying my inventory directly. Right? So, and if you want to cover that market, being the market leaders, you will have to come to me. Right? That's where we play the game. Because when you get approached, if there is no alternative to what you're bringing to the table and you are the better alternative, you can discuss more, you can add more value, and you can increase the ticket sizes and the whole campaign sizes and everything much better than what you're getting in terms of programmatic revenue as peanuts. So that's a strategy we took and that has really worked for us.
You wanted to add something?
Yeah, that is wonderful. I think everyone should join them. Because there are certain things which can be done at collective level only. Yeah. Individuals cannot do that. We need to learn how to collaborate with each other.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. And that is something that we really should do if we really want. See, the whole digital revenue space has increased. The whole, spends on digital has increased. But unfortunately, like he said, it is not made up for the revenue loss of television for larger networks. But how do we do that? And we can only do that when the programmatic rates have been decreasing like anything. So have we done enough to hold on to our inventory and hold on to our platform more dearly is something that we all really need to look into.
Wonderful. So that's basically a cue for creating a regional media collective. So that, we all come together and we basically grow the business. Well, it says time's up. I know we could have gone on and on, but we have to stop here. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for your insights. And thank you, audience. Thank you so much.